What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we finish our talks on the Wild Heart Barbarian, the new and not so improved take on the Totem Warrior, but that's actually totally okay. Today we're going to build one, and I am very much looking forward to it. Before we jump into it, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, share the video with your friends, and of course click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. If you'd like to help support the channel just a little bit more, of course by clicking that join button down below, you can become a snapper, and of course even at the lowest tier you get access to all of my build guides, my subclass fixes, homebrew material, all of that good stuff, all available down there by clicking that button, so make sure to check that out. And of course there are higher tiers as well if you are interested. Before we get too far into things, I want to stop by saying thank you, because yesterday was the EtsuCon. I've been mentioning it a little bit throughout the past couple of weeks, and we had a really good time. I gave a talk about maintaining positive play at tables, and I think it went really well. We had a really good turnout, and so thank you to all of you who showed up at that. Who knows? Maybe we'll do more cons in the future if I know about them and they're not too terribly difficult to get to. But yeah, we had a really good time. So thank you all so much who showed up for that. I will probably be posting that entire talk in full probably next week once I get a chance to edit it, probably add some subtitles here and there since you may not have been able to hear everything, and we'll go from there. But yeah, it was really cool. I'm really excited about that. So yeah, let's jump into what we're talking about today, the Wild Heart Barbarian. Yeah, we talked about this earlier this week. Of course, I'll put that up in the iCard above for you to check out. But this one is, of course, used to be the Barbarian, right? You take this Barbarian, you go with Bear Totem, and you're just invincible for the rest of the game, right? Now things are not so simple. It definitely has been nerfed, but to me, I think it has just been balanced a lot better, and I'm really not against it being pulled back in this way. So I'm okay with it. It's fine, right? And the other thing about this is that while they brought the bear down, they pretty much brought everything else up. And so now your choices are actually somewhat difficult, and it's actually worth looking at every time you rage. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Starting off, as always, we have our race, species, whatever you want to call it, and we're going to go with one that we mentioned last week in the honorable mentions, and I'll throw last week's video up there for you to check out. But we mentioned this in the honorable mentions, but I didn't feel like it fit as well. But here it fits pretty much perfectly, and that is the Aasimar. The book says Aasimar. I assume that's to avoid a certain pronunciation. I'm calling it an Aasimar, I don't care. But yeah, this race is absolutely ridiculous. It's insane, all of the things that this gets. Number one, it gets Celestial Resistance, which means that we're resisting Necrotic, and we are resisting Radiant. Wouldn't you know it, those are the two of the 4 types that are on our list of types that we do not resist with the Bear Totem now. So we've just taken out 50% of the downside that made the bear a little bit worse. And it's free. So we're taking that. We also get Dark Vision. We get Healing Hands, which is a way to heal. It is not casting a spell, which is great. There is nothing in the Rage feature that says you cannot take the magic action. It just says you cannot cast spells. This is a feature, not a spell. It works just fine. We also get Light Bearer. Now that is a spell, so we can't do that while raging anyway. But okay, then at level 3, we get Celestial Revelation. This is part of their attempt to get rid of sub-races, even though there are sub-races, they just don't name it that when you look at elves, and it's I don't know, it's super weird. But either way, at level 3, you get the Celestial Revelation, a choice to be able to pick amongst 3 different options here. You also get extra damage once per turn, which again is fantastic for barbarians, great there. But you either get to have a flying speed, you get to deal a bit of extra damage, or you get to make everybody scared of you. They're all viable, honestly. The only thing about it is that Inner Radiance, everybody was hoping that when Inner Radiance got changed from the old Aasimar, that it would not include allies in the damage that you deal. It still does, unfortunately, so you've got to be very careful that if you have allies nearby, you possibly will hurt them. So be careful with that. Heavenly Wings is pretty dang safe though most of the time. On this subclass, if you just go with Barbarian all the way, you do get a flying speed, but it's not until level 14. So this gives it to you at level 3. Much different. So definitely consider doing that. And of course, that's also not magic. So you can do that and rage and all the things at the same time. One thing about this build you're going to find is there's a lot of things to do on your bonus action. And that I think we're going to be running into that a lot, as a lot of things have been ported to the bonus action just as a result of 2024 being updated in the way that it is. So just watch for that, but there are going to be a lot of things to do on our bonus action, so just something to be careful of. For our stats, of course, we're going to be doing the normal point buy system. I know I've gotten plenty of comments throughout the years of doing this that don't like the other system, and so we'll do it. It's fine. So for our stats, we're going to take a 15 in our strength, add +1. Our dexterity, we're going to take a 13 and add a +1 there. Constitution, 15, add +1 there. We're going to dump intelligence and charisma, leave those at 8, and a wisdom, we're going to take a 12, just to help with those wisdom saving throws because those are the most common. We're really not going to see intelligence or charisma all that much, at least not enough for me to focus on it. Now, of course, we're taking our +1s in strength, dex, and con, which means there's only one option for our background, and that is soldier. Of course, I didn't used to mention backgrounds at all, but now they're pretty important with the way that things work now. This, of course, gives us the Savage Attacker feat, which I'm not a huge fan of, especially with some of the other things we're going to be getting during this build. It's not the best. You're really only averaging roughly like 1-ish damage of improvement by having this per hit. It's really not that great over the long term. And so we also get athletics and intimidation with our proficiencies, and they're also kind of meh. Again, athletics is not nearly as good because of the changes that came to grappling, so it's no longer nearly as relevant. So and then we also get a gaming set proficiency. Pick your favorite, it really doesn't matter. For our equipment, we want a glaive this week, actually. I want to give this one a try. It gives us a D10 damage die, which is nice. It also gives us reach, which is really good too. I really like the reach weapons on barbarians just because they typically are pretty limited to what is just right next to them. And so having that extra bit of range is really nice. So yeah, I want to give that a shot, and it also gives us a really nice weapon mastery. Honestly, it's not the best damage, but it just makes sure that you're at least doing something every turn, that you're not wasting your time by trying to swing, and then if you miss, you still get to deal a little bit extra damage, right? You still get something out of the turn. So I like that a lot, and I think that really is going to help us out quite a bit. So just to make sure that we're always hitting for something and always chipping things down, even if it's not for full damage. So definitely cool. I like the glaive in that way. So let's start taking some levels here. We are going to be multi-classing a little bit in this build, and of course, if you don't like what we did on this build, that's fine. We've got some honorable mentions at the end. At level 1, we are going to start Barbarian, and we're going to be here for a hot minute because I don't think that there is any reason to go with anything else if we're going Barbarian until we get extra attack. No reason to do anything else until then, so that's exactly what we're going to do. At Barbarian 1, we get Rage, of course, our cornerstone feature, which is fantastic. Unarmored Defense, which is going to help us out a little bit with our AC. With a 16 con and only 14 dexterity, our AC is not the best. It's not the worst, I guess, but it's not the best. So if you want to wear medium armor, it's certainly an option. We will eventually get one of those stats to be a little bit better, but it's not going to be a focus throughout this build. So if you want to wear armor, then that's totally fine. Then we also get our weapon mastery. Of course, we're going to take our weapon mastery for our glaive so that we can use that. The other one really doesn't matter because I'm not going to be worrying about doing whip shenanigans and that kind of thing like what we did last week in that build. I'll throw that up in the iCard above as well. And after that, I'll also throw the general Barbarian video that I've done for 2024, going over all of the changes, whether or not they're good or bad, and kind of redoing everything, talking about the Barbarian. So make sure to check that out as well. At Barbarian 2, we get Danger Sense and Reckless Attack. Of course, Danger Sense was buffed going into 2024, which is really nice, and Reckless Attack was also buffed, allowing us to use it on opportunity attacks, which is great. I definitely appreciate that little bit of extra damage that we can now do, and it just makes sense to be able to have the advantage on that as well if everybody else gets advantage in that time. For Barbarian 3, of course, we're going to get our subclass here, and so we're going to get Animal Speaker, Rage of the Wilds, and of course Primal Knowledge from the normal class. For Animal Speaker, of course, gives us a spell that we can cast outside of combat, not too bad. Rage of the Wilds is really what we're here for, and honestly, any of them can work depending on the situation, right? Bear, of course, is going to give us a bunch of resistances, so if we just need to tank, then here we are, right? We have now taken 2 of the 4 types off the list, so now we're only not resistant to 2 types. And so unless we're fighting a Mind Flayer or some random force-dealing creature, which is also pretty dang rare, we're gonna be just fine. So I think that that's very, very viable for sure. Not bad at all. But also you have to look at the Eagle here, right? The Eagle makes a lot of sense too, because it's gonna give us a lot of mobility. Being able to disengage and dash on a bonus action, not only when we activate our rage, but as long as the rage lasts, that's pretty valuable as well. And if you want to be a team player, the wolf is there. So if you have a lot of melee-based combatants on your squad, being able to give them pack tactics is really good. And so there's a lot of different ways that we can make this work, especially if you use homebrew rules for like surrounded or for flanking or anything like that. This just adds on top of all of that as well. So yeah, that definitely can be dependent on some house rules and that kind of thing. But still, it's not terrible. At Barbarian 4, we're going to get our first feat, besides the origin feat, of course. And we're going to again take Great Weapon Master. Now, Great Weapon Master, of course, it's a general consensus that this was a nerf. However, it's really not terrible. It's just better balanced in my opinion, because it's no longer the -5 +10 thing. It's more consistent with the damage, and so over time, if you look at it mathematically on what you've now missed because you took the -5, you probably end up coming out pretty close, honestly. So but you also get it as a half feat now, so there's up and downside to it. I'm not going to say that I hate it. It doesn't feel as satisfying for sure. And so for those of you who are the people who really wanted the Nova type of builds and just blow up everything on one turn, this is kind of an attempt by Wizards to pull that back and to go more for that higher DPR rather than just the burst everything at once. So it is what it is there. Barb 5, of course, we get extra attack and fast movement. This is really what we have been building up to all this time. Very, very good features. Definitely love that. So at this point, I'm looking at Barbarian 6, and we get Aspect of the Wilds there, but I don't know that I really want to go there just yet. All of those are pretty situational. None of them are like, I must have this right now, right? I have Dark Vision already from being an Aasimar, so I'm just getting an extension if I take Owl, or I get a swim speed or a climb speed. If I need it, great, I'll take it. If I don't, what does it matter? So I'm going to take this opportunity to go to another class and grab a few things that I would like. We're going to go to Fighter. Pretty standard stuff there. We're going to get a fighting style with the fighter, and of course we're going to grab either Great Weapon Fighting or Interception. Great Weapon Fighting, of course, is weird with Savage Attacker because there's a lot of re-rolling and that kind of thing, or if we re-roll it, then if it's a 1 or 2, then it becomes a 3, and it's a whole thing. Again, these numbers are not massively going to be changed because of this fighting style, okay? It's really not that insane. The other option you could consider is something like Interception. It allows you to use it if you're holding a simpler or martial weapon, so that's another option. If you're running with armor, then the defense fighting style makes sense as well, so it just really depends on how you wanted to structure that build. Of course, Second Wind is a feature that we get here that allows us to heal on a bonus action. I don't know how much we're going to be really using this all that much, just because our fighter level is not going to be all that high. We're going to be sticking mostly to Barbarian here. And of course we get Weapon Mastery as well. That's redundant. Don't really need it. Then at Fighter 2, we get Action Surge. Of course, we only get to use this one time for right now. And well, forever. We're not going to take enough fighter levels to improve that. But still, it's very, very nice. If we do need to blow up something, this gives us the ability to do that one time. So just be careful with when you use it. And of course, we get Tactical Mind as well. Tactical Mind is cool. It's another way to expend our second wind. So I don't mind that either, just because if we're not using our second wind to heal all that much, which is something we're going to run into a lot with this multi-class, it's probably more worth it to us to actually use this to help us on an ability check. So I think Tactical Mind is definitely a lot better in the multi-classing space than it actually is on a fighter. So I'm cool with that for sure. At Fighter 3, we of course get our subclass, and the only one that makes sense here is the Battle Master. And it's weird to say that because I really am normally trying to look at anywhere but the Battle Master because it's super vanilla. But what sucks here is that all the other options don't really work. So you've got, of course, Battle Master to kick things off. After that, you've got the Champion. The Champion has a lot of redundancies here. Of course, you get advantage on initiative. We already get that with Barbarian, right? Of course, it helps you with the crits, maybe, but like everything else doesn't really matter. We're going to get that with the Barbarian, so I don't really care, right? We can't do anything with Eldritch Knight, so that's not helpful. And really, if we're going to go Psy Warrior, then we really want more levels in Fighter. So it's this. This is the option we got. So unfortunately, it's what we got to do. For our 3 maneuvers, I would grab some weird ones, right? I don't want to take the typical ones just because we're going to get certain parts of this as we go, right? Because trip attack we're going to get as a barbarian technically when we get high enough level. So that's one that we're going to throw out. We've already got a few of these basically just through other ways, and you've also got to look at Brutal Strike too, because Brutal Strike also gives us some weird stuff too. So there's a lot going on here that we want to make sure is the least amount of redundant as possible. So that's kind of what I've been going for here. Riposte is going to be my first one, being able to give us kind of a counter attack if somebody misses us. I think that's very, very important. Just to be able to make sure that we're making as many attacks as possible. That's what I really like there. Again, especially with how Reckless was changed, I really like how Riposte works there. We've got Maneuvering Attack, which is a nice way to be a team player. I definitely like that. Most Barbarians are not, and this gives you a way to do that. And Disarming Attack. Disarming Attack can be very helpful as well to be able to get something important out of somebody's hands. And yeah, very, very cool stuff. We also get Student of War, which is not too bad. But yeah, this is really the only option that I got, but it makes a lot of sense, helps our damage as well. Definitely a really cool option for this. At Barbarian 6, yes, we're going back to Barb, and we're going to be there the whole way to the end. We're going to get Aspect of the Wilds. Again, this really just depends on the day. If you're going to be somewhere where it's dark, take the dark vision. If you need to swim somewhere, take the swimming speed, so on. It's not a huge deal. I'd probably take dark vision if it doesn't seem clear what to do, but otherwise, really doesn't matter too much. At Barbarian 7, we get Feral Instinct and Instinctive Pounce. We're starting to get to some really fun stuff. Again, that is helping us to our movement speed, and of course, it is also helping us with our initiative, so very, very cool stuff there. At Barbarian 8, we get our next feat, and I'm actually going to go with Polearm Master. That's right, we're doing the old combo of Great Weapon Master, Polearm Master. Now, listen, it's not nearly as good as it used to be, but it's fine. Polearm Master is mostly unchanged on going to the new rules, which is good. Of course, we are using a polearm here with the glaive, so we can of course make a bonus action attack with that butt end of the of the weapon, which is nice. It also allows us to make attacks as someone is entering our space. Again, with the changes that were made here, this works out really well. So I definitely want to take that. Plus, of course, again, we can bump our strength up. So now it's an 18. Definitely a really good option there. At Barbarian 9, we finally get our Brutal Strike first round. So this gives us a couple things that we can do. These are movement based. Of course, you can push or you can slow people down. Both are really nice. And so it just depends on the situation there. At Barbarian 10, we get Nature Speaker, which just gives us another free spell that we can cast as a ritual. Nothing too crazy there. At Barbarian 11, of course, we get our Relentless Rage, and this just is a really nice survival feature just to keep us going. If we drop to 0, then we get some HP back, which is pretty cool, so I like that. Barbarian 12, we of course get another feat, and I'm going to take an ASI here actually. It's very weird for me to say ASI or feat. Technically an ASI is a feat now, so weird wording there. But we get to go +2 strength here. I don't think there's a reason to do anything else besides that, so that gets us up to a 20, which is really good. Barbarian 13, we get improved Brutal Strike, which is great, so we get 2 more options that we can go for on that. These are both also not too bad. I like those a lot. And Barbarian 14, Power of the Wilds. These are interesting. All of them are good. Again, we have the Eagle, of course, if you have already used your flight, if you're going with Heavenly Wings. If not, then that's a great option. But the other 2 are not bad either. Being able to have that taunt type of feature is really, really nice. And so I think that there are definitely reasons to take any and all of these. I like them all. So that's really what makes this so much better than what we had prior, because me having to say pick your favorite on something like this is incredible. Number one, it gives us choice with every rage, which is something that we didn't have before, and we actually have reasons to take things other than bear. I like that a lot, so definitely a cool thing there. Barbarian 15, Persistent Rage, of course, making sure that we can keep our rage going, and that's, again, very, very important there. Barb 16, we get our final feat here, and I would say either take a +2 to Constitution or grab the tough feat. Either way makes a lot of sense to me here. And finally, level 17 Barbarian, level 20 overall. We're going to get our final improved Brutal Strike, and this allows us to, of course, use 2 options in one go. Really, really cool stuff. So that's our build for today. Let me know what you think down below. This one it's a bit generic, right? But I still think it's fine. I still think that this is going to be plenty of fun. You're going to have to actually think now instead of just bear and that's it, right? And I think that's good. I think that's the sign of an improvement, and so I can't be too mad about that. Let's talk about some honorable mentions, though, for other racial, species, options, whatever. Of course, the Goliath has to be mentioned here. The Goliath is great as a barbarian. It just makes too much sense, of course. Now, I do think that the Aasimar is much, much better in this case, but you still get a lot of really good features that help you out, so Goliath makes a lot of sense. Dwarves, same thing. They got a lot of love in the new rules, and so I think they make a lot of sense here. And finally, the Gnome. Everybody's got to love a good old Gnome Barbarian, right? Of course, having advantage on those saves on our mental stats is huge, because we are always going to be the first target, right? We hit hard, but man, sometimes we are the worst at attacking our friends because we fail crucial saves. So definitely a big win there. As for feat options, the Charger feat actually is one that I would recommend here, especially if you have gone Eagle in level 3. I think that makes a ton of sense, because now we can be able to back up and charge, right, if we need to. And I think that's pretty awesome, right? We have the dash and disengage, so we've doubled our speed, and we are free to just disengage, and that's nice. That's really, really nice. If we're not using our bonus action yet to make that butt end attack, right, then we can absolutely make that work. As far as another one, we got Mage Slayer. This is one that I personally advocate for a lot. I know not a lot of people are big fans of it, and yeah, it's a little situational, but if your DM likes throwing a bunch of magic users at you, man, this one's great. And breaking concentration constantly, it's nice. It's really nice. And finally, Sentinel. Duh. Sentinel is Sentinel. Everybody knows what that does. Being able to stop people in their tracks. Of course, I kind of did like Sentinel Light sort of last week, and so that's why I feel like that was pretty solid, just because it kind of emulated Sentinel. And so yeah, it's super good. And finally, other class options. The Druid, right? The Druid makes sense. We are nature focused, and of course the Moon Druid is the best option here because you get the most out of it off rip, and of course it is going to scale the best as well. Now, of course, the way that everything works in the monster manual has changed a lot, and so you've got to be careful with how those things work now, but still, Moon Druid all the way on this. Then we've also got for the Ranger, again, another nature-based thing. The Gloomstalker makes a lot of sense. We are not locked into being something ranged by doing this, and this gives us a lot of really cool benefits on that as well. So that is all for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. Next week, we are moving on to a brand new barbarian, actually, the Path of the World Tree. And I'm excited to see just how powerful or not powerful that is as we take a look at something brand new to us for the new rules. So until next time, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.